So, how do you perceive, look at, treat, react to an audition or a potential job that you don't get? I'd like to help you reframe it if it's something that's constantly a disappointment. And we'll do that in this episode of the VO Heroes podcast. So I've heard people say that I didn't get the job, it was a consolation prize to actually just be able to audition because that's hard to get sometimes. I've heard people say, yeah, they didn't book me for that article. I sent them the spec and they didn't like it, or they said we went some other direction. But at least I got to submit. And I hope that's not just lip service, because an audition you didn't get is filled with useful information if you look for it. You may have learned something about your process that you didn't know before. Just setting up your gear or sitting down at the keyboard. You may have determined something that had really nothing to do with what you were auditioning for or speccing for that you didn't know before. You might learn something about your gear. You might learn something about your approach to the job, the way you form your framework around a job. Who knows? It's more than you often think it is. Because just to go through the exercise of submitting is really quite wonderful. It really is. I mean, when you think about it, remember when you first started off and you were just hoping that at some point you would get an audition, that you would get somebody to read, something that you'd written, you hear your voice, maybe consider you for some tiny little job. Remember when that was the goal? And now that you're a little bit more established, those things have changed. They have changed because you learned from all of the other things that you did to get to where you are right now. So you could dismiss it by just saying, oh yeah, I didn't get that audition, but it's a consolation prize, or just to be angry about it or whatever. But that is to also dismiss the things that you learned while you were doing it, while you were getting ready to do it, while you were making the decisions about how you were going to approach it, by the actual execution and production of what you were going to do. The words you chose, the tone you used. There's so many things that we fly right by in our effort to just note that we didn't get it. Please don't look at that as things that are no longer necessary, because you learn from the tiniest little things. You come up with things, and you don't know if that thing you didn't get might lead to something you do get in the future. I just want to make sure you remember the value of all that we do as creatives. Most of the time, it's not going to result in a job. But all of the time, there is going to be useful information, useful experiences that you get from simply giving it a try. Please don't forget that, right? Does this make sense to you? Tell me what you think about this. Leave me a comment below this video, or if you're listening to it on Buzzsprout on the podcast, you can do that over at voheroes.com. You can also hit the like button. You can subscribe to the channel. You can click the notification bell and be told when the next episode's coming out. You can forward this to an actor or a writer or a voice talent who needs to hear the value, once again, of simply pursuing the work. Be happy if you did that. I'm David H. Lawrence the 17th. I thank you so much for watching and for listening. And I will see you in the next episode of the VO Heroes podcast.